Greetings and welcome to the Ripple Effect. I am Selena. So today's topic is about getting alone with God. I talked in yesterday's video about prayer, and this is just a little bit more in depth about prayer and about your prayer life when we have the opportunity. And even if we don't have the opportunity, sometimes we have to be willing to make the time for God. In this life of busyness, we can get occupied and distracted, and the enemy works in distractions. He has no problem in distracting us little by little. Because if we're honest, and I can, talk about my own personal testimony, if I'm praying, sometimes I'll be praying and talking to God, and then I might be like, yeah, Lord, thank you for X, Y, Z. And then I'll be like, okay, well, tomorrow I got to do this and that. And then I need to go to the grocery store. And then, yeah, last time I was at the grocery store, I seen such and such. Now I wonder how they're doing. And don't let me be half tired. Oh, my goodness. Then I might fall asleep. Oh, how offensive to Jesus Christ. How offensive to God. And then wake up and be like, Lord, I'm so sorry. I don't know where I was in this prayer, but I thank you for letting me see another day. So sometimes we can get distracted in our prayer life, but I'm encouraging you to take time and set aside the time to talk to God. And we sure all of us can take 5 minutes, and if it can be more than that, then so be it. But if it's 5 minutes, if we can take that time for 5 minutes to just turn off your phone or put it on vibrate or silent, D&D, whatever it is, so you're not distracted. And if you have little ones, explain to them. When my son was very little, I used to tell him, this is mommy time. I need just a moment alone. If he's fed, and everything is all right with him, he's sitting silently reading a book or playing with his toys, watching a little cartoon or what have you, and I could just take that quiet time to get alone and be with God, because it is necessary. It's not something that I believe we should neglect. I believe that time that we have alone with God is just, it's just the sweetest thing. Oh my goodness, for me, it's just the sweetest thing that I love, getting alone with God. And for some of us, getting alone is the issue, because we're so used to having somebody there. And it's sad to say, some ladies will be with anyone, not just their man, somebody else's man or husband, just anyone, to have somebody there right next to them, so they're not used to being alone and they don't like it. Because when you're alone, okay, your thoughts can start to bring up things from your past, things that's in your future, or your fears, your desires. All these things may be coming in. And those are things that we can usher up to the throne room of heaven and talk to God about. It's not for us to get bogged down with these thoughts and be like, man, I hate being alone, because every time I'm alone, all these things come up, things I don't want to deal with. And that may be the very issue. God could be bringing these things to your mind so that you can deal with it, so that you can grow, so that He can bring victory in your life, to have a testimony. It's not just for us to be alone and be like, man, I hate being by myself. I don't know how to operate when I'm alone. And for us, being alone is for us to have that time with God, not to necessarily fill it up with everyone else. And yes, in life we have our obligations to our family, to our children, to our significant others. And those things are secondary to primary relationship with Jesus Christ, God the Father, and the Holy Spirit. We must be willing to take the time to get in our prayer closets and to talk to the Lord. And then little by little. For me, it started out the small time increments, and now I don't even time it. I don't necessarily time. Whenever God has finished having a conversation with me, that's when my worship is over. That's when my prayer time is over. But I make sure, of course, if I'm on a schedule and I have to be to work, I try to make sure that, okay, this particular time when I first get up, these first 15 minutes, these first 20, 30 minutes are specifically for God. Nothing is going to interrupt this. Nothing. My son already knows, like, if I'm, talking to the Lord, unless you're bleeding or the house is on fire, do not interrupt me. Because the Lord could be telling me something important, which I enjoy. I don't want to be disrupted. I don't want anything to interrupt that conversation I'm having with the Lord. And that's something that we all should aspire to have that relationship with God where no one can come in between that time that we have with God. No one can interrupt that sacred time that we have with Him, and that we can be able to enjoy the sweetest thing on earth, because that is God the Father. So, as always, ladies, I thank you so much for watching. Remember to love yourself first, because no one can do it better.